Namaste. My name is Gayatri Dasi and I'm from the Australian School of Meditation and Yoga in West End, Brisbane. And this is a part of a wonderful day called Yoga Day Festival. We've been having these festivals every year, but this is the first online experience for us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Today's topic is how to increase focus through meditation. So apparently in 2015 there was a Microsoft report that came out stating that the average person's attention span is decreasing rapidly, and at the moment, or in 2015, the attention span was actually 8 seconds. And it's probably progressed since then. It's probably less. But this is not very good, is it? 8 seconds focus, attention span is not a really good thing. We need to actually increase our focus and concentration. So we can do this through meditation. And I thought I'd read out some of the surveys that have been done on meditation, breathing, and how it has increased people's focus. So breathing actually helps to increase your focus. Breathing is a very important pre-meditation technique or a pre-yoga technique. You'll find that most meditation and yoga practices begin with breathing. And recently a group out of Trinity College Institute of Neuroscience and the Global Brain Health Institute, they showed that breathing, which is used as a pre-meditation or yoga technique, affects the level of noradrenaline, which is the chemical affiliated with curiosity, engagement, and enthusiasm. When the right levels of noradrenaline are released through deep breaths, the brain forms new connections, and this enhances sustained focus. So by practicing some deep breathing, you'll find if you keep your mind on the breath, you gradually train the mind as well as releasing these chemicals so that your mind will become much more focused for longer periods. There was another survey, according to Anthony Zanesco and his team at the University of Miami. The results of their 7-year study shows meditation practice is linked to lasting improvement in sustained attention. Meditation helps you to focus better and for longer. Adam Moore and his research team at John Moores University studied the impact of 10 minutes of daily meditations and found that this length of regular practice was enough to significantly impact performance on a concentration test. So pretty positive things there said about meditation and increased focus. So I thought I would talk a little bit about mantra meditation, because many of the surveys and write-ups and articles that you'll find on the internet recommend focusing on a mantra. And that's what we practice. We actually practice mantra meditation. And I can tell you from experience that meditation does in fact increase focus and concentration. But first of all, we have to have a little bit of an idea of the mind. The mind is not you. You are a separate entity to your mind. You are the living being temporarily residing within this body and mind. This mind of yours is your possession, it's your tool, and it's a tool that you are using to get through life. And you can train your mind through meditation. You can actually train your mind and bring it under your control, which will help to increase focus and concentration also. So meditation is a powerful way of training the mind. And what we do with mantra meditation is we just focus on a mantra. It's very simple, not that easy at times, but it is a very simple practice that anybody can apply. And there's many different ways that you can apply mantra meditation. You can practice some deep breathing and then add a mantra to your breath. You can practice meditation, mantra meditation on beads, which is known as japa meditation. You can also practice meditation to music, singing meditation or kirtan, which it is known as. You can also practice mantra meditation through conscious listening, where you just close your eyes and focus one pointedly on the mantra. So we're going to touch on a little of each of these practices today, so that you've got plenty of tools that you can take home and work with in order to improve your focus and concentration. So the first one is the breath. We're going to practice a little bit of yoga breath, and then we'll move into some mantra breathing. We're just touching on them, so no, we're not going to do a long session of each. I think the whole session today is going to be about 20 minutes. So we don't have time to practice all of them in full. We're just going to be touching on each of them to give you an idea of how you can apply mantra meditation. So we'll start off with some 3-part yoga breathing. Just relax your body, close your eyes, just softly closed. And starting to allow the breath to enter naturally, deeply, through the nostrils, slowing the breath right down, getting into a bit of a rhythm. And now we'll place our hands on our below our navel, just on the abdomen. And we're going to use the hands to guide the breath deep into the lower lungs. So as you inhale, belly expands. As you exhale, belly contracts. Keep your mind focused on your breath. So a good way to do this is to watch the journey of the breath. Watch the breath entering the nostrils, moving all the way down into the lower lungs, and then moving back up. Same journey on the way back out through the nostrils. And take one more nice deep breath into the belly. And then we'll slide our hands up onto the ribs, breathing into the middle lungs. So as you inhale, the ribs expand outwards. As you exhale, they contract in. One more breath. And then bring your hands up onto your chest. And breathing into the upper lungs now, letting the chest expand and soften with every breath. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back onto the breath. We don't want to let the mind wander off too far. Being aware that the mind has wandered, you're halfway there. One more breath into the chest. And then place one hand back down on the belly, below the navel. And we're going to join all 3 breaths for a full yoga breath, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying them from the top to the bottom, just like a balloon. So as you inhale, belly expands, then ribs, then chest. As you exhale, chest softens, ribs draw in, navel draws in. Just take 2 more of these nice, deeply relaxing yoga breaths. Keeping your mind fully focused on the breath. And relaxing your hands into your lap. And we're going to add a mantra to our breath. The mantra is Gauranga, and it's said in 4 syllables: Gaur, Ra, Ang, Ga. So just remember, keep your mind on the sound. If your mind wanders off, gently draw it back. You've got to keep bringing it back. Just like when you're training an animal or a horse, you just keep doing it again and again and again. And finally that horse or that dog becomes trained. So we're going to inhale and exhale 3 times together. And then on the 3rd exhale, we're going to say the mantra Gauranga on the outward breath for the full length of the exhalation. As we inhale, we'll say it within the mind. So inhale, exhale. Inhale, Exhale. Inhale. Gauranga. Inhale, saying it mentally. Gauranga. One more. Hold the mantra within your mind. Let it resonate there for a few breaths. Keep it there within the mind. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we're going to practice some japa meditation. You may have some beads. If not, you can just chant along. Mantra meditation on beads is really great for increasing focus, because the more senses you use in the practice, the more your mind will go onto where your senses are being used. So by using the extra sense of touch in our practice, our mind is more likely to focus. So we're just going to do one round of japa meditation, and we're going to use the mantra Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. And we're going to say the mantra on the first bead. Traditionally we use the middle finger and the thumb. And we move to the next bead, and we continue saying that mantra on each bead until we get back to the head bead again. And we say Hari Bol on the head bead. So I'll start. You join in whenever you feel ready to do so. And just remember to keep that mind coming back, training the mind back onto that sound. It'll wander off. That's what minds do. They're very, very erratic and rebellious. But we want to bring it under our control. We don't want to have a rebellious mind. We want to be having our mind do what we want it to do. So bring it back onto the sound if it starts to wander off. Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, 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 Hari Bol. Haribo, Nitai Go, Nitai Go, Haribo. 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 Last one. Haribo, Nitai Go, Nitai Go, Haribo. So you've just completed one round of japa meditation. You can do as many of these as you like. That took us around about 5 minutes. So 2 of these is the recommended 10 minutes of meditation daily. So let's move into another form of meditation now known as Kirtan meditation, where we sing the mantras. So people who love music will love this one. I'm going to be singing a mantra through first. The mantra is Om Hari Om, and then you respond. Just keeping that concentration, that focus on the mantra. Remember to train that mind. That crazy mind needs to be brought under control, and we need to train it. I'll sing it through twice, and then you respond singing it back to me. And just really focus on both the singing of the mantra and the responding. Your turn. Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om. 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 As I was saying to you before, you can also practice focused listening, just by closing your eyes and really focusing on a kirtan track, a meditation, kirtan meditation track. Conscious listening it's known as. So we're going to give you some links to some tracks below so that you can practice that type of meditation as well if you like. So many ways you can apply these mantras in your life to increase your focus and concentration, and that focus and concentration that you achieve through meditation will also assist you in so many other facets of your life. So I hope you enjoyed the class today, and I hope I can connect with you again soon. Namaste.